Hello, hello, hello. Happy NVIDIA earnings day. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, John Schmidt. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Sterling. Sterling with the earnings in. Abercrombie Fitch beat, but down 5%. Foot Locker miss, and flat. You can't. Kohl's beat, up 19%. Oh boy. Oh boy. Good morning, Ted. Good morning, OD Green. Box yesterday was a beat and up 5.9%. Good morning, Anissa. So, but everything hinges on NVIDIA today. Other than we had, what was it, Feds Williams speaking. Remember, already this morning, but not much this market moving. Remember, NVIDIA makes up 8% of the S&P 500 market cap. Highest ever for one stock. Good morning, Martinez. So, what do we got going on into it besides saying good morning to Dean? Nothing today. For crude traders, you got the EIA numbers. We got Barkin speaking noontime, just after lunchtime. So 12:45 to be exact. That's about it. Tomorrow we have the GDP, PCE, GDP numbers, and jobless claims. But today it's going to all depend on NVIDIA after the close and at 8% of S&P market cap, highest market cap percentage of any stock ever. It's all going to depend on their earnings and their guidance. Going into this morning, let's just do a quick refresh. Some mega caps up slightly, mixed on mega caps. Lilly's still bouncing back at up 86 basis points, but overall not a super strong or weak morning. Sort of in the middle, the warm porridge. What else do we have? We have basic materials, comm services, financial lagging, utilities, technology, and healthcare all leading. So it's going into the open slightly favoring a risk-off day, to use that term, which I hate. Let's see. We have still 87% for the cut in September and then a cut in December, so nothing's changed there. Still in greed mode. Schiller PE, close to 39 going into NVIDIA earnings. Sterling again put in all the earnings, but again, everything's going to depend on NVIDIA. We also have Snowflake, CrowdStrike, and HP after the close today. And tomorrow morning we have Dollar General and Best Buy are the two things to keep an eye on. But what do we have? We have here, we got the bounce back yesterday in the S&P coming up just shy of my next key level, the 64.90. We do have, this is valid. This is a valid, especially on the 1 hour. It's completely valid potential double top. So if we were to really break down, and even if this pulls back a bit and rotates back up, it will not invalidate it going into NVIDIA earnings. It would have to, again, I'm not saying it's going to trigger, but it would have to trade above, it would have to get above 65.1275 before it is off the table today. Okay? Or it would have to drop all the way back down, into the, around the 64.50 area and then bounce all the way back up and make a triple top. Other than that, that's the thing I will keep an eye on, and it's the only thing that could shift me short-term bearish, because that would retest the lows from last week. And then if we triggered the other bigger double, which is still valid, you see this other bigger double, this one, then I would shift to more of a bearish stance. Other than that, I got to stay in bull mode until something disrupts that. Today, I'm paying attention into the open, into the 4-hour rotation zone. And as OD Green said, where is that? There. It might be a chop. I wouldn't call it a flat day. I call it choppier day, because we could go down and up. But I'll be watching, just, again, we're trading right at a pretty key level right now, about the 64.75. If we drop below there, I'm paying attention close to this. I'm paying attention to 64, 65. Sorry about that. Good morning, Tony. So that's what I'm watching there. I can take off the channel we broke out from yesterday. All right, NASDAQ. We do not, this is not a double, especially on the 1 hour. You can see it here. You can see all that. So, and these targets extend beyond here. So really, if we start breaking below 23,420 area, I'm not even focused on this low. I'm focused on 23,420. Then I'll watch for a breakdown and the potential test of 23,200 area. Other than that, we came up to my target 23,626 area from yesterday. We finally got through the descending trend line, and for going into today, I'm watching this key support. 23.5 is very key support. It was support prior on Monday, turned into resistance on Tuesday, reconfirmed as support yesterday with this retest, and now that's remains potential support. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on now. If we break above, what's interesting also, I'll point out, what's interesting is the key 62.5 right here from the retracement back down, the key 62.5. We've stalled out now Friday's move, Monday, Tuesday, and so far today. So it's not been able to get a close. It's not even been able to trade above the key 62.5, which is 23,681, and especially close above there. So it's still in the rollover zone on the NASDAQ. All right, I'm keeping a very close eye on that. So we have the potential double in the S&P. We're in the rollover zone on the NASDAQ. Intraday, though, I'll be watching 23,501 if we do pull back. If we do break above 23,626, again, my target 23,681. All right, so that's where we sit there. The dogs of war. Yeah, well, yeah. They were excited. My wife was going out the front door, and they got a little excited. Good morning, Tony. Did I say good morning to you already? Dow, we are not in double top, or I should say potential double top territory yet. What would we need to get there? And it might. Well, I don't think it'll work even if we did, unless it barely ekes out in the 75. But if it's got to even have a shot, it's got to get above, roughly 45,673, 45,675. Other than that, the key area I'm watching again is around this low areas. We had these two spike lows around 45,175. If we start breaking down there, I'll watch for the retest of last Thursday's low area. That's especially after the close. What else? Russell, we do. Russell, we have a potential double top. So there's another one I'm keeping an eye. 2330.8 on a 4-hour closing basis. You could even do it on a 1 hour. 1 hour or 4 hour closing basis for the breakdown play. The upsides will take care of themselves. Still, we had a nice rebound yesterday in the Russell. Again, if the Russell takes out this very key harmonic 2370 roughly, 2385 is next key low. 2381 to 2385 is next key harmonic area. I love the momentary lapse reasons. I was actually listening to a couple songs from it the other day. I really like that. The Dogs, and that was a song, The Dogs of War. Good Pink Floyd reference. All right, VIX. Yesterday I was watching, remember I said if we break down below 15, and we did, and then it continued lower. I'm still watching that key pivot point of 15, or trading right below it right now. But then it requires momentum. Yesterday, you can see here, it dropped pretty rapidly. Got momentum and then went through that 15 level. The yield, this is a roll. You had a little roll gap today. But again, the pattern has not been invalidated. It is a roll on the micro yield contracts. In the notes yesterday, did close above the 62.5, so the pattern in the notes has been invalidated. The short pattern in the notes has been invalidated. Waiting for Thursday and Friday's data. Crude rolled up. By the way, if you're studying percent B sells, which you don't stress very often on commodities, I'll use them. It's just the inverse. It's got to be over 1, setting up a topping bar, and then you break below that low and follow through with a close. So I'll do that in commodities. Stocks, I modify it a bit. But in commodities, again, things that go both ways, you can have a percent B sell. That was a percent B sell going into the EIA numbers today with cycles getting to the top. Just wanted to clarify that. And that's not for a major move down. I'm actually just watching for it to get back into this consolidation. Gold, dollar strength, gold pulling back a bit. Hit the target yesterday. 34.43 was the target. So that was very key. Again, I'm going to just be watching. If this does manage to rotate back up, I'll be watching for a little potential mini double top. If it gets through 24.43 and does not make a reversal sign, then my next key area, I'm watching minor. Minor resistance is about 34.58, 34.59, and the major's right in front of 34.66. Dollar index bouncing back to very key resistance, trying to spike above it. Again, this 98.20 level is very key resistance. Keeping an eye on that today. Because so far the dollar doesn't want to break down. It doesn't want to break out. It's stuck in a trading range. Again. So going to sit on hands with that. Did not follow through with the breakdown from last Friday's. And it's actually bounced back quite substantially. But is there a fantastic trade there? No. So it's caught in something. And you can always trade, if you're looking at dollar index, you can always trade UUP. What else do we have? We have the spiders. These spiders also have a mini potential double top. So we will keep an eye on that also. It would need to close below 641.56. Now this might, if it triggered, might have to be traded after hours. But that's the key. It does have a little mini double top. Other than that, slight gap down today. So that would be the first thing, the gap fill. And then there's very major resistance up around 646. The Qs. This is just two. There's your 4 hour. There's your 1. That's where you could drop in time frames. On the 1 hour, see it's a triple. So, and this is more of a channeling, lopsided. So I'm not even going to touch it. It's just only if it starts breaking down. I'm watching it 568.50. If it's going to be the breakdown move. And then what I would use for targets, I would be looking for the 566.42 area and then 564.52. So roughly in there. What else do we have? We have Bitcoin. Bitcoin, again, triggered the double. It'll bounce back to the key breakdown area. The key breakdown area between the lows and the candle bodies, and now trying to rotate back down. Still some buying pressure in here. Remember, this is still in the weekly rotation zone, so it's a lower probability double. But we still have that, especially if NVIDIA disappoints, we get selling in the Naz and everything else, we could see this breakdown. First target is 106.240 roughly. Speaking of NVIDIA, back to the high major resistance area that's been resistance since the end of July. So nearly a full month of resistance up here going in earnings. A full month, you still have the weekly rotation zone below it. So that is about it. Last week's low is going to be very key. So we'll keep an eye on that if it does disappoint. Remember, cycles have been pinned to the top. It's overbought. So this, if it does break to the upside, the minor area is 188, 189 roughly. The major area is 196. What else? That is Sterling mentioned Domino's Pizza, DPZ. Domino's Pizza has triggered a daily double bottom and has pulled back to candle bodies. And it has done that. There's the candle bodies triggered. So because sometimes you can't get proper reward to risk. Can't get proper reward to risk on some of these, so you wait for the pullbacks. But there's where we sit with Domino's Pizza. All right, that's really about it. I have a very busy open this morning, and then I gotta get a car into the car dealership for service. So I have to jump right now. Again, don't do anything silly. To just recap, in the S&P, if we pull back 64, 67 area, and then 64, 64, 63 is going to be key. Going in for the open and watching that for me. Other than that, we'll see how NVIDIA turns out. Also, do check on the dollar index at the end of today. Recommend that going into tomorrow with the GDP and the GDP PCE numbers and unemployment. So with that, I shall talk to everyone later. Bye for now.